I didn't realize when I first met Mark that someday I would marry into the most wonderful and godly family that I could ever imagine. Ray and Laurine are the cornerstone of that family. Mark and I lived in many different states during our early years of marriage. When we lived in Tulsa, we spent many weekends at their home on Garrett Street. We were always welcomed with a big hug and lots of good food. When we lived in Topeka, Kansas, our first son Michael was born. Laurine spent a week with us helping take care of Michael. Stephen was born in St. Paul, Minnesota, and Laurine spent a week with us there, helping take care of him also. By the time Christopher was born, we were living in Siloam Springs. It is wonderful to be in Siloam Springs with such a large, wonderful family that enjoys spending time together and being a support for one another. Ray and Laurine are a perfect example of what it means to bring up your children in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Ephesians 6:4. What they taught their children, we tried to emulate and teach ours. We see that raising a godly family is passed from one generation to the next. I am thankful for that heritage. Through them, I understand the meaning of love never fails. They love their neighbors, their family, their church, their God. They believe, hope, and endure, and they encourage others to do the same. Through 70 years of marriage, they have indeed proved that love never fails.
Some random thoughts I have about my Aunt Laurine. She's incredibly strong in a quiet, behind-the-scenes manner. Dear herself to every person she comes in contact with. She's an incredible multitasker. She's absolute in her ability to look for good in every person and in any situation. She's positive and optimistic with her it'll all work out attitude. Has an everlasting humility and conviction in her beliefs and unmatched will. A person, mom, grandma, and aunt that everyone needs as a friend or member of their family. Some random thoughts about my Uncle Ray. A father figure to me before and since I have the ability to remember. He's lovable and huggable like no one else. An infinite capacity to love, care, and show kindness. He's able to make people feel comfortable discussing real-life issues, struggles, and challenges. An incomparable and uncompromising character, humility, devotion, and commitment to beliefs. When I think of character, the absolute first person I think of is always Uncle Ray. He's dependable, both in action and thought, and he is absolutely void of guile. Some thoughts I have about Aunt Laurine and Uncle Ray as a couple. They're two people who talk the talk and then walk the walk when it comes to living the life they believe in. There's no better example of two people that, without interruption, portray the values and principles of how to live the life we are given. A living example of how love, devotion, commitment, sacrifice, respect, humor, and the ability to laugh are the main ingredients in a successful and enduring relationship. Two people who I know without hesitation that I can count on when I need them for anything, especially the need for spiritual and mental uplifting. Two people who literally drop what they are doing to help another human being, family, friend, or not, in their time of need. Two people who have the uncanny and incredible ability to make everyone around them feel welcome, comfortable, included, and part of themselves and their family. Two people who show how to be humble, unassuming, and unpretentious while showing strength, firmness, and toughness. Two people who graciously share what they have without a hint of expectation or obligation. And two people who naturally think, you first, then who's next, not me first, then maybe you next. And lastly, I want to say, one of my absolute favorite places to be in the entire world is sitting around the kitchen table with Uncle Ray and David, with Aunt Laurine in the kitchen, and whomever else might happen to be there that day in the morning of about any day of the year. Congratulations to both of you on this most incredible 70th wedding anniversary celebration. I love you both.
Two memories stand out. One is the family reunion in Jackson Hole in 1993. We ran into Granddad on one of the trails in Grand Teton National Park. We were at a point overlooking Jackson Lake. Granddad noticed a tree sapling growing out of a crack in the large rock outcrop that we were standing on. He said words I will never forget. My. Don't tell me you can't grow through adversity. The second event was bringing Cameron to Arkansas to meet his Arkansas family for the first time. Being the first grandchild, as well as the first grandson, I have always dreamed of giving Granddad his first great-grandson. That dream became a reality, and I wanted to make sure I had a picture of all three of us together, along with one with my mom included. We got some great pictures, but it was also special watching Granddad holding Cameron and giving him the priestly blessing from the Old Testament. The uppermost spiritual value my grandparents have taught me is perseverance. I am most grateful for the legacy of family and for a family that actually wants to gather together. That value has become more greatly appreciated now that I have a family of my own and can envision Cameron's future.
Granddad, you have stirred my interest in tree identification and given me the gift of nature awareness. You can identify any tree in sight and taught me from an early age how to do the same. Even though I am one of 19 grandchildren, I am touched that you took the time for me individually when I was young. You have taught me many things in the garden, and 8 years ago you helped me clear an area for my garden when we first moved to Georgia. I must also say thank you for teaching me about astronomy, specifically Orion's belt, and how to cook apple butter. Grandma, you have blessed me with a love for cooking and showing love through your efforts in the kitchen. You can prepare the most delicious meals with only a moment's notice. By watching you, I have learned to cook cornbread, butternut squash, apple butter, dressing, and pancakes. You have taught me not to waste anything, be charitable and compassionate to all, and always have a positive attitude. I cannot recall any occasion that you haven't had a positive attitude. I am privileged and honored to call you my grandparents. My children are also blessed to have you as their great-grandparents. I have had the rare and wonderful opportunity to see a first and fourth generation interact and enjoy each other's company. The joy of watching you two make apple butter with Olivia, having tea parties, and listening to Olivia ask Granddad questions about World War II is more valuable than I can put into words. I am so thankful God allowed my children time with both of you, and I thank you for taking the time out of your schedules for my children. I admire your faithfulness to each other and to God more than anything. I am convinced there is no moment when God is not in the center of your actions. You are committed, dedicated, trusting, and devoted to one another. What a privilege God has provided you with. 70 precious years together. I am blessed to have such a heritage and example set before me. I am most thankful for the Christian heritage you exhibit. You have a love for God that is evident to all around and are true examples of Christ. I am so thankful to God for placing me in this family and surrounding me with godly grandparents who love Him and truly walk in faith. With much love, Ashley.
One of my favorite memories of my grandparents is when we went to an amusement park when I was in high school. We got Grandma a wheelchair so she didn't have to walk all day. And when we realized that we could get in the front of the line because she was in that wheelchair, we begged Grandma and Grandpa to go on every ride with us. And they did for a long time until we went on this log ride where we got wet and Grandma's hair got all messed up. And then she decided that was the end of the rides for her. I'm sure people thought we were a little crazy taking our grandparents on roller coaster rides. The spiritual value that stands out to me the most from my grandparents is to count your blessings and always have hope. Even during the most trying of times, they are always thankful for the blessings in their lives and keep a positive attitude. I remember the week we found out my mom had cancer. They both encouraged me and helped me stay somewhat positive in a very scary season in my life. I can hear them singing together in my head, "Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God has done." So if I'm ever blue or upset or need some positive encouragement, I remember that little tune. I'm so very blessed and thankful that my grandparents have created a legacy for me to follow. They are an example of how to love your spouse, how to raise your children, how to serve others, and how to always put God first in your life. I'm so thankful that they pray for me and for my life. I remember Grandma telling me once that when she can't sleep at night, she'll just start praying for all of her children and grandchildren. God only knows all the blessings I have received in my life because of their diligent prayers. I love you, Grandma and Grandpa Barnett.
I'll never forget the time that we spent together in New York City for the Republican National Convention. A lasting memory was when Granddad and I ventured out onto the city one morning to see several sights. Neither one of us had been to New York or knew our way around, but the Barnett adventure spirit took over. Granddad was concerned on where to go, but I had the subway map and I was ready to go. We visited Ground Zero. We stood amazed at the sight of construction trucks still cleaning the scene 3 years after it had happened. We walked over to Wall Street and we visited the New York Stock Exchange. I remember mentioning to Granddad that this is where the Great Depression started. We then walked over to Battery Park and hopped on the ferry to see the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island. I remember thinking how amazing it was to see the sights and places that have shaped our country, as well as our own personal lives, and especially the life of my 84-year-old grandfather. He is one of the great Americans that few on a national scale knows about. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Matthew 6:33, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And Matthew 16:24, then Jesus said unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross and follow me. The 3 F's is what I come away with Grandma and Granddad, in order of faith, family, and friends. I am grateful, even in their older age, that they still have a purpose and drive to get up every day and do something to better the world. That is so amazing. Even late in life, we can still do the things that God calls us to do.